I used to think success was about money until I realized poor people and rich people both work, but for completely different reasons. The poor work for Fridays, the rich work for freedom. That's the dividing line. One group is counting the hours, the other is counting the impact. One group says, I can't wait for the weekend. The other says, I can't wait to see what I build next. You see, you can work hard all your life and still end up broke. Not because you didn't try, but because you were running on the wrong map. The moment you stop working for weekends and start working for legacy, that's when your wealth journey begins. Don't count your hours, master them. Don't chase the paycheck, design the life. Most people think the paycheck is freedom, but if it buys your silence, it's a trap. You see, the paycheck was designed to reward you for effort, not for growth. It keeps you showing up, but it doesn't set you free. You trade 5 days for 2, your dreams for security, and your passion for predictability. And I get it, comfort feels safe, but comfort has never built a fortune. Somewhere deep down, you know you were designed for more. To create, to build, to own, to lead. But the world taught you to sit quietly, do your job, and be grateful. My friend, gratitude without growth becomes a cage. It's time to wake up the entrepreneur inside of you. Because until you stop thinking like an employee, you'll never earn like an owner. When I was a young man, I thought the goal of life was to make money. I thought if I could just earn enough, my problems would disappear. So I worked hard, long hours, double shifts, weekends, and yet somehow I always ended up right where I started. It took me years to realize the truth. You don't get paid for time, you get paid for value. Money doesn't respond to effort, it responds to worth. The marketplace is not a charity. It's a reflection of the problems you solve, the service you give, and the value you create. That was the turning point of my life. Once I stopped asking, how can I earn more money? And started asking, how can I become more valuable? Everything changed. See, working for money keeps you trapped in the endless exchange of hours for dollars, but working to become valuable transforms those same hours into seeds that keep producing long after you've planted them. It's not the job that makes you rich, it's the person you become while doing it. When you grow in skill, in discipline, in attitude, your value multiplies. And when your value multiplies, so does your income. The world pays for contribution, not for presence. You can sit at a desk for 40 years and still retire broke if your value to the marketplace never increases. I remember my mentor once asked me, what are you becoming in exchange for your paycheck? That question hit me like a hammer. Up until then, I had been trading hours for survival, not realizing those hours could have been investments. I began to study the people who were doing better than me, not with envy, but with curiosity. What skills did they have? What problems did they solve that I couldn't? And I discovered something remarkable. The highest paid people weren't the hardest workers in the room, they were the smartest contributors. They had mastered the art of making themselves indispensable. If you want to escape the trap of living paycheck to paycheck, start thinking in terms of value. Every morning, ask yourself, what can I do today that will make me more valuable to my customers, my company, my community? Learn to see yourself as a problem solver. The size of the problem you're willing to tackle determines the size of the reward you'll receive. The bigger the problem, the bigger the paycheck. You can start small, be the person who delivers more than expected, who learns one new thing every day, who shows up not just to earn but to improve. Over time, that habit will separate you from the crowd. One day you'll wake up and realize that money has become a natural byproduct of who you are. You won't need to chase it anymore. It will start chasing you. Because money is never the goal. It's the applause for the value you've added to the world. So stop working for money. Start working to become valuable. When you do that, the marketplace will not only reward you, it will never forget you. When I was a young man working on the farm, I learned a lesson that would later shape the rest of my life. The man who owned the land didn't work harder than I did. He worked smarter. I was breaking my back for a wage while he was building wealth. I was working in the field. He was working on the system that made the field profitable. That was the day I realized the difference between employment and ownership. See, the poor and middle class rent their time. The rich build systems that make time work for them. The truth is, you don't have to own a business to start thinking like an owner. Ownership begins in the mind long before it appears in your bank account. When you think like an employee, you ask, what do I get for my time? But when you think like an owner, you ask, what value can I create that lasts beyond my time? It's a completely different question, and that difference creates a completely different life. The employee mindset is short-term. It seeks comfort, predictability, and safety. But the ownership mindset seeks growth, freedom, and impact. It understands that wealth isn't about security, it's about creativity. When you build systems, investments, and ideas that continue to produce while you sleep, that's when your money starts to work harder than you do. Even when I was still employed, I began practicing ownership thinking. I would walk into the office and ask myself, if this were my business, what would I do differently? I noticed things others ignored, inefficiencies, waste, missed opportunities. And by treating my job as if I owned it, my results improved. I wasn't waiting for instructions. I was creating solutions. Before long, that mindset caught the attention of others and opened doors that a simple paycheck never could. You see, ownership thinking attracts opportunity because people trust leaders, not laborers. You can start doing this right where you are. If you work in sales, act like you own the client relationship. If you work in operations, act like you own the process. Study how your company makes money. Learn where the profits flow, how decisions are made, and how systems run. The more you understand how value moves, the closer you are to creating your own. That's how entrepreneurs are born, from employees who decided to think like owners long before they became one. And when your income starts to grow, don't let it end there. Take those extra dollars and plant them in assets, stocks, small ventures, ideas that multiply your efforts. Remember, the goal isn't to stay busy, it's to become free. Work full-time on your job if you must, but work part-time on your fortune. Build something that will one day make your labor optional. Because the day you stop renting your time and start owning your value, that's the day you stop working for money and start making money work for you. When I was young and broke, I thought the only way to get ahead was to work longer hours. I believed that if I just put in more time, eventually the results would come. But I was wrong. I discovered that working harder on the wrong formula only multiplies frustration. The truth is, if you're trading time for money, you'll always run out of time before you ever run out of bills. That's the great trap of the employee mindset, believing that effort alone is the key to wealth. But effort without leverage is just exhaustion dressed up as productivity. See, the poor exchange their hours for income. They sell pieces of their life in exchange for paychecks. The wealthy, on the other hand, exchange ideas for value. They use time differently, not to maintain, but to multiply. Time is a finite resource. Creativity is infinite. Once I understood that, I stopped asking, how can I earn more per hour? and started asking, how can I create something once that pays me forever? That shift changed everything. I began to see that my greatest power wasn't in my labor, but in my mind, in the ideas I could develop, the systems I could build, and the value I could deliver without being present every moment of the day. When I first started building assets, I didn't have much, but I began small, writing, recording, packaging ideas that could live beyond my presence. I realized that every product, every piece of content, every investment was like planting a tree. You plant it once, you water it for a season, and then it provides shade and fruit for years to come. The problem is, most people never plant. They're too busy harvesting someone else's orchard. They keep selling their time, forgetting that time is the only thing they can't buy back. You can recover money, you can rebuild a business, but once an hour is gone, it's gone forever. So the question becomes, how do you make time serve you instead of enslaving you? You start by building something that continues to work when you don't. Maybe it's an online product, a digital course, a small investment, a piece of property, or intellectual property like a book or a patent. Whatever it is, start creating assets that don't depend on your daily effort. Spend at least 1 hour each day building something that works without you. Just 1 hour a day, compounded over time, can replace the need to trade your time for income. Remember, every hour you spend creating systems of freedom is an hour you never have to sell again. Wealthy people understand this truth. They don't work harder, they work smarter. They create value once and let it multiply forever. And the best part, you don't need to be rich to start. You just need to start thinking differently. Because you can't buy back time, but you can make it serve you while you sleep. That's the secret of freedom, turning time into a partner, not a prison. When I was 25, I thought my job was the answer to everything. I believed that if I could just find a good job, I'd be safe, secure, and successful. But one day, my mentor looked me straight in the eye and said, "Your job is not your security, it's your seed money." I didn't understand it at first. I thought he was saying that my job wasn't important, but that wasn't the point. What he meant was that my paycheck was supposed to be the beginning of my wealth journey, not the end of it. It was meant to fund my dreams, not replace them. Most people make the mistake of thinking their job is the destination when, in truth, it's only the vehicle. You see, your job is designed to keep you alive. Your investments are what make you free. The tragedy is that so many people stop at survival. The moment they earn more, they spend more. Their expenses rise to meet their income, and before long, they're trapped again, just at a higher level. They trade comfort for opportunity and call it progress. But comfort can be a very expensive cage. The key is to use your job as a source of capital, not complacency. Take a portion of what you earn and plant it into assets, something that can grow and eventually replace the need for that very paycheck. I remember when I first began to understand this. I was earning just enough to get by, but I made a decision. Every time I got paid, I would treat a part of that money like a worker I was sending out into the marketplace to earn me more. I told myself, these dollars are my employees. Some went into savings, some into books, some into small ventures, and slowly they began to bring me returns. My money was starting to work while I was asleep. That's when I realized the real purpose of income. It's not to spend, it's to invest in freedom. Now, I'm not saying don't enjoy life. I'm saying enjoy it wisely. Keep your lifestyle modest while you're building your foundation. Avoid the trap of lifestyle inflation, the one where every raise becomes an excuse for a new car, a bigger house, or another luxury you don't really need. The moment you let your comfort rise faster than your discipline, your dreams start shrinking. Remember, every unnecessary purchase is a seed you chose not to plant. So here's the mindset shift. Stop seeing your job as a life sentence and start seeing it as your investor. Your paycheck isn't your reward, it's your tool. Use it to buy assets, to learn, to grow, to build something that lasts. Let it fund your future, not your fleeting pleasures. Because one day, if you do this right, your job will become optional. You'll wake up and realize your money is working harder than you ever did. That's the moment of true wealth. When your seed has grown into a tree that can feed you for the rest of your life. When I was a young man working for pennies, I thought the smartest people were the ones with the biggest degrees and the fanciest certificates hanging on their walls. But over time, I began to notice something strange. Many of the most successful people I met didn't have advanced education at all. Some didn't even finish school. Yet they built businesses, created products, and changed lives. That's when it hit me. Formal education can make you a living, but self-education can make you a fortune. See? Job training prepares you to serve someone else's vision, but self-education prepares you to create your own. And if you want to rise above survival and step into success, you've got to make the shift from training to transformation. Most people stop learning the day they leave school. They think graduation means they're done. But life doesn't reward what you know. It rewards what you continue to learn. They never stop being students. They devour books, attend seminars, study human behavior, business, and finance. They look for the patterns of success that most people ignore. And here's the magic. When you study success long enough, you start to think like it. When you think like it, you begin to act like it. And when you act like it, results start showing up where there were once excuses. I remember the first time I made a commitment to learning outside of my job, my mentor told me, spend more on your mind than you do on your clothes. At the time, that seemed strange to me. I thought, what's the point of buying books when I could use that money to pay bills? But he explained that if I only focused on paying bills, I'd always have bills. If I invested in my mind, I could eventually pay for anything I wanted. That advice changed my life. I started reading 30 minutes a day, books on business, psychology, philosophy, communication. I attended workshops that stretched my thinking. I listened to people who were doing better than me and tried to learn not just what they did, but how they thought. And here's what I discovered. The mind is the factory of your fortune. Everything you create, earn, or build starts there. So you've got to feed it daily. If you feed your mind with entertainment, you'll get distraction. But if you feed it with education, you'll get elevation. Every book, every lesson, every idea compounds over time. Knowledge works just like money. It grows when you invest in it regularly. Now, don't just collect information, apply it. Knowledge that isn't applied is just clutter in your brain. Each week, pick one concept from something you've learned and use it. Maybe it's how to communicate better, manage time, or handle money. When you start applying what you learn, you'll feel your power grow. You'll notice opportunities others miss because your awareness expands. Remember this, the world pays for value, and value begins with wisdom. Job training might teach you how to follow orders, but self-education teaches you how to create opportunities. One builds security, the other builds freedom. So don't wait for someone to pay you to learn. Start today. Because the moment you begin investing in your mind, you start building the most powerful asset you'll ever own, yourself. When I first stepped into the world of work, like most people, I thought security meant a single paycheck arriving every 2 weeks. I measured success by my ability to show up and perform tasks assigned to me. But over time I realized something that changed everything. Relying on one source of income is like standing on a single leg. You may balance for a while, but eventually the weight of life will knock you down. True security, true wealth, comes from creating multiple streams of value that feed your life from different angles. It isn't just about making money, it's about building resilience, freedom, and options. The employee mindset says, I'll be okay if I keep this job. The wealthy mindset says, I will create value in many ways so life can never pin me down. And this is where most people miss the lesson. It's not about working more hours. It's about leveraging what you already know, what you already can do, and what you can develop. Think about the skills you already have. Can they be used in a second way? A freelance project? A small business? A course? The principle is simple. Don't rely on a single source when your talents and creativity can generate multiple. I remember when I was first trying to step beyond a paycheck. I took a small skill I had, organizing, communicating, solving problems, and started offering it in a different way outside of my primary work. Wasn't huge at first, and I didn't quit my job. But that little side venture taught me something invaluable. Income is never fixed if you think creatively. Every dollar earned outside of my main job didn't just add to my account. It opened doors, taught me new lessons, and built confidence that I could generate resources even when circumstances changed. The strategy is to start small but think big. Begin with one skill, one service, one idea that aligns with your strengths. Deliver it well and let it compound. Reinvest the profits, not in new luxuries, but in expanding your capacity to create value elsewhere. A small seed planted today can grow into a forest of opportunity tomorrow. Multiple streams aren't a luxury. They are insurance against the unpredictability of life and a gateway to freedom. Remember, the world rewards contribution. The more streams of value you create, the more people benefit, and the more the universe rewards you. It's not about standing on one leg and hoping you don't fall. It's about standing on a strong platform built with many legs. Build wisely, invest consistently, and you will never be shaken. When most people think about wealth, they think about numbers on a paycheck or dollars in the bank. That's the employee mindset. How much can I earn? How much can I spend? But the wealthy, and those who truly understand the power of time and influence, ask a different question. What can I leave behind? Legacy thinking transforms ordinary effort into something far greater than temporary comfort. It elevates every action you take, giving it purpose and direction beyond today. I've learned that income is fleeting, but influence, knowledge, and systems endure. Early in my life, I noticed people who seemed to have it all. They had money, status, and comfort, but when they were gone, nothing remained. Their children struggled, their communities didn't benefit, and the lessons they'd learned died with them. Contrast that with those who intentionally built legacy. They documented their principles, shared their strategies, and invested in people as much as in profits. Their impact lasted decades, and the wealth they built multiplied, not just in dollars, but in lives changed. That's the difference between living paycheck to paycheck and designing a life that keeps giving long after you're gone. The strategy is to think beyond yourself. Every decision about time, money, and energy should consider its ripple effect. Document your systems. Keep journals of lessons learned. Share your knowledge and mentor someone who is ready to grow. Teach what you've learned about managing money, creating opportunities, and building resilience. When you do this, your influence compounds like interest in a bank account. What you share today can benefit hundreds tomorrow. Another element is creating assets that outlive you, businesses, intellectual property, investments that continue generating income and opportunity even when you're no longer at the helm. Legacy is not just about leaving money, it's about leaving a culture, a methodology, and a mindset for others to follow. In my own journey, I began writing down principles, teaching others, and investing in ideas that could operate without my constant attention. Those steps weren't glamorous or quick, but over time, the returns were far greater than any paycheck I could have earned alone. Remember, income satisfies the present, but legacy secures the future. Every choice you make today can either vanish with you or ripple forward to influence countless lives. Don't just make a living, design a life that keeps giving. Most people live paycheck to paycheck, waiting to see what's left after bills, groceries, and small indulgences. They think wealth comes when income exceeds expenses, so they chase raises or overtime, hoping someday there will be extra to save. That's the employee mindset, reactive, short-term, and often unfulfilling. The wealthy, however, follow a completely different principle. They invest first and spend later. They pay themselves before anyone else, treating their future as the most important bill on the ledger. Early in my life, I didn't understand this. I'd see a few extra dollars and spend them impulsively, thinking I'll save later. Later never came. One of my mentors told me, don't wait for money to grow before you start saving. Let saving make your money grow. That advice changed everything. I started setting aside even a small portion of every paycheck, automatically. That first step, simple, disciplined, and consistent, was the bridge from scarcity to control. It didn't matter that the amounts were small. What mattered was that the habit was being formed. The strategy is simple but powerful. Treat saving as a non-negotiable expense. Automate transfers into a savings account, investment fund, or retirement plan the moment income arrives. Begin with 10% and gradually increase as you earn more. This is not just accounting, it's a declaration to yourself that your future matters more than temporary pleasure. Every dollar you save becomes a worker for your future, compounding quietly while you live your life. Beyond numbers, this practice shapes mindset. It teaches patience, foresight, and self-respect. When you see your savings grow, you gain confidence in your ability to control your financial destiny. This habit also frees you from living hand to mouth, from anxiety over every bill or unexpected expense. Money starts to serve you rather than you serving it. Remember, the principle is timeless. The poor spend what's left. The rich invest first. What you do with a single dollar now is a reflection of how you will handle 1,000 later. Begin today, pay yourself first, and let your dollars work quietly to build freedom, security, and opportunity. Too many people confuse possessions with prosperity. They work long hours to buy things that vanish in value the moment they leave the store, a new car, the latest gadget, a designer bag, and call it success. That's the mindset that keeps them trapped. True wealth doesn't come from things you display. It comes from assets that work for you while you sleep. Assets generate income, create options, and grow over time, while liabilities demand constant attention and drain your resources. Understanding this difference is the foundation of financial freedom. Early in my life, I saw neighbors and friends chasing status symbols, yet still living paycheck to paycheck. I made a conscious decision to think differently. Every time I had money to spend, I asked myself, will this pay me or will it drain me? I bought tools that could help me work smarter, books that could expand my mind, and later, investments that generated income. The shift was subtle but powerful. My wealth didn't explode overnight. It grew quietly, steadily, and predictably because I was acquiring assets, not liabilities. The strategy is simple yet profound. Before you spend $1, classify it. Is it an investment or an expense? Stocks, rental property, royalties, and a business that produces cash flow are assets. They increase your capacity to earn. A flashy car, a high-end gadget, or an expensive outfit is a liability. It disappears in value and often requires ongoing maintenance. By consistently choosing assets over liabilities, you gradually transform your financial position. Build a portfolio that earns for you, even if you start small. One rental property, one dividend-paying stock, one intellectual property, one side business can compound into significant wealth over time. The power is not just in owning things, but in owning things that make you money. Remember, if it doesn't put money in your pocket, it's not an asset, it's a toy. Shift your purchases from status symbols to income generators, and you'll no longer work for money. Money will begin to work for you. Start today, think asset first, and watch how your financial future transforms. You are the company you keep. Every conversation, every partnership, every relationship either lifts you higher or holds you back. Too often, people work tirelessly on their own financial journey, but surround themselves with those who complain, excuse, or lack vision. Their mindset is contagious. If you spend your hours with people who doubt, procrastinate, or make excuses, you'll find your own ambition dulled. Wealth isn't built in isolation. It's accelerated by the people who challenge, inspire, and multiply your efforts. I learned this lesson early on in my career. I knew colleagues who were skilled, but their attitudes kept them small. Then I met mentors and peers who were hungry for growth, who studied success, who were relentless in pursuit of improvement. Simply by associating with them, by observing their habits, and engaging in their thinking, my own perspective changed. I started seeing opportunities I had missed, adopting disciplines I had neglected, and thinking bigger than I ever had before. Wealth began to multiply, not just in dollars, but in ideas, relationships, and possibilities. The strategy is clear. Curate your environment. Surround yourself with ambitious, ethical, and forward-thinking people. Seek partnerships that create mutual benefit, ventures where everyone grows. Avoid those who drain energy, foster negativity, or encourage complacency. Every hour you spend with the wrong influence costs more than money. It costs momentum, focus, and the mindset required for success. Collaboration amplifies impact. Two minds solving a problem can create 10 times the results of one. Shared wisdom accelerates your learning curve. Shared ambition magnifies drive. On the other hand, negative influences multiply your struggles and delay your progress. Evaluate your relationships honestly. Are the people around you pushing you toward your goals or distracting you from them? Align your daily hours with those who elevate you. Wealth isn't just a financial game, it's an environmental game. The right associations can take you from surviving to thriving, from limited thinking to expansive action. If you run with the lazy, you'll crawl toward failure. Choose carefully. Invest in relationships that multiply your value, and watch how your financial and personal growth accelerate beyond what you could achieve alone. Every dollar you earn is like a soldier under your command. If you don't tell it where to go, it will wander off, lost in frivolous spending, emotional impulses, or forgotten bills. Most people never see where their money goes. They feel stressed, wonder why they can't get ahead, and blame their income. The truth is not in how much they make, but in how clearly they manage what they already have. Awareness is the first step toward mastery, and mastery begins with tracking. I remember early in my career when I was barely making ends meet. I'd get a paycheck and it seemed to vanish overnight. Bills, groceries, small indulgences, it all slipped through my fingers. Then I started a simple practice. For 30 days, I wrote down every single expense, no matter how small. The results shocked me. I discovered money leaking into habits that brought fleeting pleasure but no lasting value. I realized I was unconsciously spending my future one small impulse at a time. That awareness changed everything. The wealthy think strategically about every dollar. They categorize spending, needs, wants, and growth. Every dollar assigned to growth is an investment in freedom, savings, assets, education. Wants are carefully evaluated. Do they serve a purpose beyond momentary satisfaction? Needs are covered efficiently without excess. Tracking isn't about deprivation, it's about clarity. Make reviewing finances a weekly ritual. Look at where your dollars went, where they could be redirected, and how your resources are building toward your long-term vision. This simple discipline transforms your relationship with money. It converts blind expenditure into conscious action. You begin to see patterns, avoid waste, and make decisions from control rather than reaction. When you command your money like a general commands soldiers, you no longer live paycheck to paycheck. You start building freedom, security, and eventually wealth. The moment you begin, every dollar becomes an ally in your journey. Money slips away from those who ignore its path. Take control today, and let each dollar serve your future, not your fleeting impulses. Opportunities rarely knock without notice. They often arrive through people, not ads or luck. The truth is, wealth grows through relationships long before it grows in your bank account. Your network is your net worth, and yet most wait until they desperately need something before reaching out. That's like planting seeds the day before winter. Success demands foresight. You must build bridges before you need them. Early in my own journey, I learned the power of relationships the hard way. I was trying to start a small venture with very limited resources. Instead of waiting for a handout, I began attending every industry meeting, community gathering, and seminar I could find. I didn't ask for jobs or favors. I offered help, insight, and support wherever I could. Slowly, people began to remember me, trust me, and value me. One small connection led to another, and doors I hadn't even imagined began to open. The wealthy understand this principle intuitively. They invest time in people, not just transactions. They nurture relationships consistently, long before any benefit is apparent. Every conversation, every act of assistance, every introduction becomes a brick in the foundation of future opportunity. When you genuinely provide value without immediate expectation, you create goodwill that compounds over time. Make it a habit to attend events, join online communities aligned with your goals, and consistently connect with people who inspire growth. Offer advice, share knowledge, or simply listen attentively. Follow up. A simple thank you, a note of encouragement, or checking in periodically keeps relationships alive. A strong network also serves as a mirror. The people around you reflect your ambitions, values, and habits. Surround yourself with motivated, ethical, forward-thinking individuals, and you'll naturally elevate your own standards. Conversely, poor associations drain energy, dilute focus, and stifle progress. Building your network before you need it turns connections into opportunities, support into leverage, and collaboration into wealth. Relationships aren't just nice to have, they are strategic capital. Your net worth will grow not only by what you earn or invest, but by the strength and depth of the bridges you build today. Your network is your net worth. Start planting those seeds now, long before the harvest is needed. Wealth is often measured in dollars, cars, or houses, but the richest form of wealth cannot be counted or displayed. True wealth is freedom. The freedom to choose how you spend your time, who you spend it with, and what purpose you dedicate it to. Without freedom, all the money in the world becomes a cage gilded in gold. Many chase the trappings of success, believing possessions define achievement. Yet I have learned through my own life and observing those who prosper that time is the ultimate dividend. When I first started, I measured success by how much I earned, but I quickly realized that more income only brought more responsibilities, more stress, and less time to live intentionally. The lesson was clear: money is a tool, not the goal. Its highest purpose is to buy back your freedom. That could mean time to pursue passions, to travel, to nurture relationships, or simply to enjoy peace of mind. Wealth without choice is like a garden you cannot enter. You may own it, but you cannot enjoy it. To build this kind of freedom, clarity is essential. Define for yourself what freedom truly means. Is it having more hours in the day to learn and grow? Is it the ability to travel and explore? Is it the choice to spend time with family without constraint? Once defined, every financial decision should align with buying back that time. Instead of spending on fleeting luxuries, invest in assets that create autonomy, businesses that run without you, investments that produce passive income, skills that compound your earning potential. As your income rises, resist the temptation to trade it for more obligations. Lifestyle inflation steals freedom faster than it creates comfort. Use extra resources to lighten your load, automate recurring tasks, delegate where possible, and free your mind to focus on what matters most. This is the essence of wealth, not accumulation, but liberation. Freedom is the dividend of disciplined planning, intentional action, and strategic investment. When your money works for you, instead of you working for money, you begin to live on your own terms. Choose freedom above things, seek autonomy over accumulation, and in that choice, you discover the richest life imaginable.